Hello and welcome to the setup and configuration of the AT-OME-SW21-TX, an HDBaseT transmitter with USB-C and HDMI inputs plus USB hub. In this video, we will be walking through the web interface and explain the settings for integration in your AV environment. The SW21-TX has an LCD screen display that you can use to check the inputs, input status, and IP mode. The SW21-TX transmitter ships with DHCP enabled. Once connected to a network, the DHCP server, if available, will automatically assign an IP address to the unit. To wake up the screen and navigate the setting menu, use the up, down, or enter buttons. You can set the IP mode from DHCP to static, as well as allowing you to reset the IP settings. The on-screen display off, OSD off, allows for the auto off feature to be changed from the default of 30 seconds. It may be changed to never, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, or 20 seconds. If you wish to manually reset to factory, you can hold the reset button for more than 15 seconds. The reset button is a small inset that can take a pointer or paper clip. If you are not connected to a DHCP server, you can use the front panel to change the device IP mode to static. The default static address is 192.168.1.254, subnet of 255.255.0.0, and a gateway of 192.168.1.1. You will notice that when you log in for the first time, you will be asked to create a default password. The user is admin. Once logged into the web server, this first page gives you the information on the device. You will notice that we have added the serial number for the unit on this info page for our most recent products and newest firmware. This page also gives information about the firmware version, active input, signal types, video formats, aspect ratio, color space, and color depth. First, you can choose which input to display, the HDMI or USB-C. The HDMI output plus 5 volts forces the pin on the HDMI output to be high or always on when this is enabled. Many VTC codecs need to see a change in this pin in order to change modes. If faster switching times are desired, then you should move this to always on. If you change to only when signal present, this will allow an attached display to go to sleep if there is no source signal. You can set the switcher to automatically switch and use the built-in scaler, which will downscale 4K to 1080p for the HDMI output. The HDCP settings allow HDCP content to an HDCP-compliant display. This is the default setting. Non-compliant will attempt to force the source device to ignore detection of HDCP-compliant displays. This setting does not decrypt or circumvent HDCP-protected content. Finally, if you need to mute the presentation audio, you can toggle the HDMI audio output on or off. CEC display control only works over HDBaseT. You can also control a display using CEC or RS-232. This switcher, like most of the Omega switchers, has velocity drivers built in, so you can control the display using third-party control protocols based on active video presence. CEC, or Consumer Electronics Control, sends power on and off to the display. Atlona has confirmed proper CEC functionality with several current models of Samsung, Panasonic, and Sony displays. However, it is not guaranteed that CEC will work with all displays. Many manufacturers do not support sync-off commands, and older displays use proprietary commands. Atlona only supports displays that use the CEC command structure defined in HDMI 1.2a. Display Auto Power On allows the SW21-TX to send the power on command to the display when the AV signal is detected. When the AV signal is no longer present, the SW21-TX will send the power off command to the display. This is the default setting. You can also set it to send the power off command when the occupancy sensor detects that the room is vacant. You can combine the two or disable the power off completely. The occupancy control is for use with our OCS900N, the network occupancy sensor. You will need the IP address of your OCS and we talk to it on port 9000. This information is filled in under the I/O tab. Auto power off timer sets the time interval between the command to power off the display is sent, and when the AV signal is no longer present. The default value is 2 minutes, but available values are from 15 seconds to 15 minutes. Lamp cooldown timer sets the projector lamp cooldown in seconds. This value specifies the time interval that must elapse after the display control off command is sent and before the display power on command can be sent. This feature is used to prevent the projector from missing power on commands while the lamps are cooling. Available values are 10 seconds to 5 minutes, with the default setting of 10 seconds. Display warm-up timer is the same as the cooldown timer, except it refers to the timing of the warm-up of the display or projector. It will delay the ability to send the off command until the unit is completely warmed up. You can choose from a few control types. CEC is the default, but you can also select IP or RS-232. When you choose one of these types, more fields will become available. If you select RS-232 or IP, you can set the manufacturer, product, and model. We have a lot of common displays and projectors. However, if you know the protocol for your device, you can also create your own commands and test them by using the send. You can also enable the repeat command to determine the number of times it needs to be repeated. This is because some devices may require that the command be sent multiple times before an acknowledged message is sent back. If you select IP control type, you will then be given the fields for connecting your device using TCP/IP. Non-login basically means that there's no authentication or user password required to access this device. If you select the login, you will want to fill in those fields. You will also need to know the IP address and port that is to be used to talk to the device. Under the RS-232 page, you can set the RS-232 over HDBaseT, and it converts TCP/IP commands to RS-232 commands for output to external devices over HDBaseT. It also enables a single IP connection to the control processor to control both IP and RS-232 connected devices at remote endpoints. The RS-232 console is the setting that allows the control system to control the switcher and other devices using RS-232. Before a source can send picture and sound to a display device, the source reads the EDID or Extended Display ID data stored in the display. The EDID contains information about what type of video and audio formats are supported by the display. The SW21-TX can use either downstream EDID from the display or use a built-in EDID preset. EDID data can also be stored in either of the two presets. You can store the HDMI out EDID, the HDBaseT out EDID, or you can import an EDID. The term downstream is used to describe any device that receives a signal from another device. For example, if a Blu-ray player is connected to a display, the display is said to be downstream of the Blu-ray player. The SW21-TX provides the option of selecting a preset EDID. The SW21-TX provides two different USB modes, manual and follow video. Follow video is the default mode. In follow mode, the USB host device follows video input selected. Each host device will have access to the same USB peripherals when video switching occurs. Manual mode provides manual selection of the USB host port, which is to be used. This can be set to USB-C, the host connection, or the HDBaseT host. One of the new features with the SW21-TX is the USB V-Bus, which adjusts the power function of the USB hub ports. Follow presence allows the USB hub port to toggle on and off based on the presence of a USB host. Always High keeps the USB power hub ports always on and will be able to charge some peripherals without a host computer present. This tab is what you will use to assign the AT-OCS900 occupancy sensor. You can toggle it to turn the display on or off based on your display settings of CEC RS-232 or TCP/IP. Under the User tab, you can change the administrator password. The password applies to both the web server and the SSH sessions. Note that the username admin cannot be changed. Under the System tab, you can change the network IP mode and the static IP address. By default, the SW21-TX is set to DHCP mode. Once connected to a network, and if a DHCP server is found or available, the SW21-TX will be assigned an IP address on the network, and no further network configuration is required. However, if the SW21-TX is unable to detect a DHCP server within 15 seconds, then the unit will use the self-assigned IP address. The telnet can be enabled or disabled, but will not require a password. If you want the connection to be secure, use SSH, which will ask for the same username and password as the web server and disable the telnet connection. This is where you can modify the hostname to show up on the network. Under the System section, you can lock the front panel to keep users from making changes. You can reset to the factory settings here, but you can also hold the reset button on the front of the unit for 15 seconds to reset the device to factory settings. You can update the firmware, as well as export the configuration and import it from a different unit. Finally, you can download the logs for use by our tech support. The Tools page is a built-in cable test for the SW21-TX HDBaseT cable. For more information on the AT-OME-SW21-TX, go to Atlona.com.